There comes a time in many parents' lives when the deepest pain does not come from illness or age, but from silence, the silence of children who once ran to you, now barely notice you. The messages that go unanswered, the respect that feels lost. If this is your reality today, pause for a moment and breathe. You are not alone, and you have not failed as a parent when children ignore or disrespect their parents. The natural reaction is anger or hurt. We want to remind them of everything we sacrificed, every sleepless night, every struggle. But reacting with anger or emotional speeches often creates distance instead of closeness. This is why the most powerful thing you can do in this moment is to stay calm. Calmness is not weakness, it is strength. It shows self-control, dignity, and wisdom. When you stop reacting emotionally, something changes. Silence combined with self-respect becomes louder than any argument. Children, even when they appear distant, observe more than we realize. A parent who stays composed and does not beg for respect often leaves a deeper impression than one who constantly complains. Calm behavior disrupts conflict and invites reflection. It is also important to stop repeating your pain again and again. Your feelings matter, but turning love into guilt rarely brings respect. True understanding cannot grow under emotional pressure. Speak only when necessary, and when you do, let your words come from peace rather than hurt. Sometimes fewer words carry more weight. Another powerful shift happens when you turn your attention back to your own life. After years of living only for your children, this feels unfamiliar, even selfish. But it is not. Your happiness should not depend on how often someone calls you or how politely they speak. Focus on your health, your interests, your faith, and the people who value you. When children see parents living with confidence and purpose, their attitude often changes. Independence naturally earns respect. At the same time, learn to set emotional boundaries. Love does not mean tolerating disrespect. If a conversation becomes hurtful, calmly step away without drama or anger. This quiet strength teaches others how to treat you. Respect grows when boundaries are clear and consistent. Most importantly, lead by example instead of expectation. Speak with respect, remain patient, and stay firm without being harsh. Many children realize the value of their parents later in life, not immediately. Your role is not to force realization, but to remain steady until that understanding arrives. Remember this always: you raised your children with love and intention. Their behavior today does not erase your sacrifices or your worth. You are more than how others treat you. Sometimes the most effective response to disrespect is not confrontation, but calmness, dignity, and self-respect. These qualities leave a lasting mark long after anger fades. When your children ignore you or speak without respect, the first emotion that rises is pain, quickly followed by anger. This reaction is natural, but reacting immediately often causes more damage than silence ever could. Staying calm in such moments is not about suppressing your feelings. It is about choosing wisdom over impulse. Calmness gives you control over the situation, while emotional reactions give control to the moment. When you react in anger, your words may carry years of frustration, disappointment, and hurt. Unfortunately, children often hear anger as accusation, not emotion. Instead of understanding your pain, they become defensive, distant, or even colder. Calmness, on the other hand, changes the energy of the conversation. A calm response interrupts the cycle of conflict and forces the other person to reflect, even if they do not show it immediately. Staying calm also protects your self-respect. When you raise your voice, plead for attention, or argue repeatedly, you may later feel regret or exhaustion. Calm behavior allows you to walk away with dignity and tact. Silence combined with composure sends a powerful message: you value yourself. Enough not to beg for respect, this quiet strength often leaves a deeper impact than loud words ever could. It is important to understand that calmness does not mean acceptance of disrespect. It simply means you are choosing the right moment and the right tone. When emotions settle, your words become clearer and more effective. A calm statement spoken once is more powerful than repeated emotional explanations. Children may ignore anger, but they notice consistency and self-control. Another benefit of staying calm is emotional protection. Constant emotional reactions drain your mental and physical health. Peaceful responses reduce stress and help you think clearly. When you are calm, you make better decisions about when to speak, when to step back, and when to focus on yourself instead of the conflict. This balance restores inner strength that may have been lost through years of emotional strain. Calmness also models maturity. Children, regardless of age, learn more from behavior than lectures when they see a parent responding with patience instead of rage. They witness emotional intelligence in action. Over time, this can reshape how they interact with you and with others. In moments of disrespect, pause, breathe, and remind yourself that your worth does not depend on someone else's behavior. Calmness gives you power, clarity, and peace. It allows you to respond with intention rather than regret, and that choice alone can change the outcome more than any argument ever will. When parents feel ignored or disrespected, a common instinct is to remind children of everything that was done for them. The sleepless nights, the financial struggles, the compromises, the years spent putting their needs before your own, these sacrifices were real and they mattered. But when they are repeatedly used as reminders, they slowly turn love into pressure. And pressure rarely produces respect. Children often experience these reminders not as expressions of pain, but as accusations. Instead of feeling gratitude, they feel burdened or controlled. This creates emotional distance, even if your intention was simply to be understood. Love given freely feels nurturing. But love tied to reminders of sacrifice can feel heavy. Over time, this weight pushes children further away rather than drawing them closer. True respect cannot grow from guilt when sacrifices are brought up again and again. Conversations become emotionally charged and children stop listening. They may shut down, change the subject, or avoid contact altogether. What began as a desire for connection slowly turns into silence. This is why letting go of repeated reminders is not weakness, but wisdom. This does not mean your sacrifices should be forgotten or dismissed. They were meaningful. And they shaped your children's lives in ways they may only recognize later. But constantly highlighting them keeps both sides stuck in the past. Healing and understanding happen in the present. When you release the need for acknowledgement, you reclaim emotional peace, speaking less about what you gave and more about how you feel in the moment is far more effective. A calm expression of your emotions, without blame, opens space for understanding. Sometimes even that is not necessary. Silence, when chosen with self-respect, often speaks louder than repeated explanations. Letting go of sacrifice as pressure also allows you to redefine your identity beyond parenthood. You are more than what you gave to others. When you stop seeking validation for past efforts, you free yourself from disappointment. This shift strengthens you emotionally and helps restore balance in the relationship. Many children realize their parents' sacrifices only when they face similar responsibilities themselves. That realization cannot be forced or rushed. Trust that what you gave was not wasted. Respect grows naturally when guilt is removed and dignity remains. For many parents, especially after years of sacrifice, life slowly becomes centered only around their children. Your routine, your dreams, your happiness, everything revolves around them. So when children grow distant or become unresponsive, it can feel as if your entire world has gone empty. This is why reclaiming your own life and happiness is not selfish, it is necessary. When your happiness depends entirely on how your children treat you, you give away your emotional power. Every unanswered call hurts deeply. Every careless word feels personal, but when you begin to rebuild your own life, something shifts inside you. You stop waiting, stop hoping, stop measuring your worth by someone else's behavior. You start living again. Reclaiming your life begins with small steps, paying attention to your health, your daily routine, your sleep, and your peace of mind. Doing things that bring you calm, whether it is walking, reading, praying, gardening, or simply sitting quietly with your thoughts, these moments remind you that you exist beyond the role of a parent. You are a whole person, deserving of joy and respect. When children see parents who are constantly waiting, constantly complaining, or constantly hurt, they may unconsciously pull away. But when they see a parent who is emotionally stable, engaged in life, and confident, their attitude often changes. Independence creates dignity. A fulfilled parent commands respect without demanding it. Reclaiming your happiness also reduces emotional pressure in the relationship. Children feel lighter around parents who are not emotionally dependent on them. Conversations become calmer, expectations become healthier. Even if children do not change immediately, you feel stronger because your peace no longer depends on them. This shift also helps heal old wounds within you. Years of neglecting your own needs can create silent resentment and sadness. When you finally prioritize yourself, that emotional burden begins to lift. You become less reactive, more thoughtful, and more balanced. From this place of inner strength, your words carry more weight and your silence carries more meaning. Most importantly, reclaiming your life teaches your children an important lesson. That happiness is an inside job. You show them that life does not end when roles change, and that aging does not mean disappearing. This example often stays with them longer than any lecture. Your children may or may not change quickly. But when you reclaim your own life, you certainly do. And that change alone brings peace, confidence, and quiet power, the kind that never depends on anyone else's approval. Setting boundaries with quiet dignity is one of the most difficult yet most powerful things a parent can do, especially when facing disrespect or emotional neglect from their children. Many parents confuse boundaries with rejection or fear that setting limits will push their children further away. In reality, boundaries are not walls built from anger, they are lines drawn from self-respect. When children speak harshly, dismiss your feelings, or behave disrespectfully, tolerating it in the name of love slowly damages you from within. Each ignored insult, each painful comment you swallow, adds weight to your heart. Over time, this silent tolerance turns into resentment, sadness, and emotional exhaustion. Setting boundaries is how you protect your inner peace without creating conflict. Quiet dignity means responding without drama. It does not involve shouting, lecturing, or emotional threats. It is the calm decision to step back when respect is missing. If a conversation turns hurtful, you calmly say less or choose silence. You may end the call politely or excuse yourself without explanation. This kind of response is powerful because it removes fuel from the fire. Disrespect thrives on reaction. Dignity starves it. Boundaries also teach others how to treat you. When you consistently allow disrespect, it silently communicates acceptance. But when you calmly withdraw from situations that harm you, you send a clear message without words. Over time, children begin to notice the change. They may not admit it, but they feel the shift. Respect often follows consistency. It is important to understand that boundaries are not punishments. You are not cutting off love or closing your heart. You are simply choosing peace over pain. You can still care deeply while refusing to be mistreated. This balance is difficult. but it is essential for emotional health. Setting boundaries also helps you regain control over your emotions. Instead of feeling helpless or dependent on how others behave, you begin to feel grounded. You stop anticipating hurt and start trusting yourself to handle situations calmly. This inner strength brings relief and confidence. Children may resist boundaries at first, especially if they are used to emotional reactions. They may accuse you of being distant or cold. Stay steady. Quiet dignity does not need defense. With time, many children adjust because they sense the seriousness of your calm behavior. Remember, respect does not grow from fear or force, but it cannot grow where self-respect is absent. By setting boundaries calmly, you honor yourself and create space for healthier relationships. Even if others do not change immediately, you will feel lighter, stronger, and at peace, and that alone is a powerful result. Leading with self-respect rather than expectation is a quiet but life-changing shift, especially for parents who feel hurt by their children's behavior. Expectations often come from love, but when they are unmet, they turn into disappointment. You expect gratitude, regular contact, gentle words, and basic respect, and when these expectations are not fulfilled, pain follows. Self-respect, however, does not depend on how others behave. It comes from how you choose to carry yourself. When parents live with expectations, every interaction becomes a test. A delayed reply feels like rejection. A short conversation feels like disrespect. Over time, this constant emotional checking creates anxiety and sadness. Leading with self-respect frees you from this cycle. You stop waiting for others to behave a certain way to feel valued. Your worth becomes stable, not fragile. Self-respect shows in small but powerful ways. It shows in how you speak, calmly, without bitterness. It shows in how you listen, without begging to be heard. It shows in how you respond, with thought instead of impulse. When you respect yourself, you do not chase attention or demand validation. You allow relationships to be what they are, without losing yourself in the process. Children sense this shift, even if they do not acknowledge it. A parent who lives with self-respect carries a different presence. There is less complaint, less emotional pressure, and more balance. This often makes children feel safer and more open over time. Respect that is not demanded is more likely to be given freely. Leading with self-respect also protects your emotional health. You stop overthinking every word or action. You stop blaming yourself for things outside your control. You accept that adults make their own choices and that your role is no longer to control, but to remain steady. This acceptance brings peace. It is important to understand that self-respect does not mean becoming cold or distant. You can still love deeply, care sincerely, and remain available without placing expectations on outcomes. Love with expectation says, I will be okay if you behave this way. Love with self-respect says, I will be okay regardless. Many parents discover that when expectations fall away, conversations become lighter, there is less tension, and more honesty. Even silence feels less painful because it no longer defines your value. You begin to enjoy your own company and trust your own strength. In the end, leading with self-respect is a gift you give yourself. It reminds you that your life has meaning beyond approval, and your dignity does not depend on recognition. Whether others change or not, you stand firm, peaceful, and whole, and that quiet confidence often becomes the strongest message of all.